welcome back to Book Break. Today's video is going to be a massive BookTuber shout-out video. We are recommending BookTubers from all over the world, and I had to work so hard to narrow this down because my original list was so long. So I still have loads more recommendations up here, so do leave us a comment below if you'd like to see us do this again, any particular countries you'd like to see, or any BookTubers that you recommend that you think deserve a shout-out. But for now, let's set off around the world visiting BookTubers. So for our first stop, we are heading to the Czech Republic. I want to recommend Daniela from the BookTube channel Only If For a Page. And Daniela's videos are so much fun because she's got this really eclectic reading taste, so you get so many different kinds of book recommendations from her. But I also thought she'd be a particularly good one to start with because Daniela is the creator of the International BookTuber tag, and that is how I have discovered so many of my favourite international BookTubers. A lot of the people on this list I originally discovered through that tag. So big shout out to Daniela for really helping build up the international BookTuber community. And from there, we're next going to head to Norway. I want to recommend Alice from the Book Castle. So Alice's videos are so aesthetically pleasing. They are really, really cozy, and especially for this season, her videos are so autumnal. She actually made a video recently called Books Perfect for Fall, which I will link to. Even aside from the book recommendations, it's just such a beautiful video with leaves and candles in the background. And then of course she's got this great list of books in there, everything from practical magic to The Secret History and everything in between. Then next to the Netherlands, where I want to shout out Leora from Books with Leo. Her videos are so beautiful to look at, and she's got such great fashion style. Surprise, surprise, she is a designer and animator, so you can always hire her if you want her to make your videos look extra beautiful. A video of hers I want to recommend recently was her Spooky Reads video, where she fully was dressed up as a witch. It was awesome. And then from Portugal, there is Marta from the channel Stellai Reads. She is one of the co-hosts of the Prideathon readathon every year, which encourages you to read LGBTQIA+ books, and the prompts are all really personalised to you, so depending on your birthday, your favourite genre, things like that, you will end up getting different reading prompts, which is so much fun. My next shout out is Yasmina Adina, who is from Romania but now lives in Denmark, I believe, and her channel is about reading and writing. So for example, she made a video once on how to choose a title for your book, which was so in-depth and so helpful, full of loads of different tips that people might not have considered when naming their work in progress. For an Italian booktuber, there is Phoenix from Some Bunny Reads. She has a bunny who appears at the beginning of all her videos and is so cute. And Phoenix has such a great sense of humour. So a video I really enjoyed recently was her reading Twilight for the first time, because she made fun of it a lot, but also was like, yeah, I read it in one sitting and I gave it 5 stars. So it was all like very good spirited. Then Books with Rachel Ayo is a Nigerian booktuber, and she does loads of really in-depth individual book reviews, which is something that a lot of booktubers have stopped doing, but people often comment saying they really miss. So here is someone that you will love. But as well as that, she also created the Nigerian Writers book tag, which is a great place to start if you want to look up some new Nigerian books and authors. For a Namibian booktuber, I want to shout out Rox is Reading. She has such a fun energy. Her videos are all really fast-paced and funny, and I love her colourful thumbnails. These are definitely videos that will cheer you up. And one of her most recent book hauls was called A Book Haul That's Honestly Kind of Small Considering, and that sums up her humour really well. Joella Reads is a South African booktuber who again has such a good sense of humour, so her videos are really engaging, really fun to watch, and she does a really good mix of vlogs versus sit-down videos, and then some really, really helpful in-depth videos. Like for example, she made a whole video comparing Goodreads to the Storygraph, which was actually so insightful that encouraged me to sign up for the Storygraph, which I now have. Opal from Opalescent is a Kenyan booktuber who now lives in Canada, and she does some really funny video ideas. So for example, she did one recently that was just called Annoying My Dog for Views, and her dog was so adorable in it. But they are usually book-focused videos. So for example, she made a vlog recently that was swapping reading routines with another booktuber, which was such a good idea and really interesting to see how different people's reading routines can be from each other. Aissata Amadou is a Mauritanian booktuber who lives in LA, but she's done vlogs every time she visits her family back in Mauritania, and her videos are a real mix of booktube videos with lifestyle videos and just general really helpful, informative videos. Like, for example, she did one on what I wish I knew before applying to college, which I wish I had seen before I went through that application process, and I imagine lots of people now will find really, really helpful. Rana Najjar is a Syrian booktuber who lives in Jordan, and she is another really entertaining booktuber. She is currently doing a challenge where she is reading only Stephen King for the entire month of October. So the video I will link to for her is her TBR for this challenge, because I'm just so excited to see how she gets on. That is a lot of pages she's got to read this month. Farah from the Farah Project is a booktuber from the UAE, and she actually made a book break video for us a long time ago about Charles Dickens, so I will link to that one. She is a really, really interesting booktuber. She's so obviously so intelligent, but she talks about books and their themes in a way that's really accessible. So the particular video of hers I'm going to recommend was a video she made recently on books about books, because you know that is a theme that we love here on Book Break. Tanya from Bookish Topics is a Russian booktuber who lives in Japan. So while we're travelling vicariously through her, I want to recommend a video she made on modern classics from around the world, which was such a fun video and a really cool way of learning about books from all over the world that I otherwise hadn't heard of. Myeonakon from the Bookish Land is a Chinese booktuber who now lives in the US, but she travels a lot and always brings her camera with her, so I love her videos as a little glimpse into different places around the world. And if you're looking for non-fiction November recommendations, we have a video coming up on Book Break, so watch this space, but Myeonakon also has a video from last year that she made on 3 non-fiction books about historical women, so really, really interesting titles in there. Divya from Celebrity Reads Hush is an Indian booktuber, and she is a really creative booktuber. So for example, she's one of the co-hosts of the Disney Readathon, which is such a fun idea, and I will link to her TBR video where she went through all of her Disney themed books because they made me really want to pick them all up. Next, from Bangladesh, I want to shout out Fariha from Bookworm's Paradise. She is another really energetic booktuber, another one who reads a really big range of books. And actually one of my favourite videos of hers recently was a really cosy vlog where she made one of her favourite Bengali dishes while reading, and it was really lovely to watch. For a booktuber from the Philippines, I recommend Annie from Blissful and Bookish. She is one of the smiliest booktubers, so her videos always put me in a really good mood. She's got a really good range of fun videos, but one I really enjoyed recently was where she talked about books that she had decided to reread. And listening to her talk about all the things in each book that had made her want to pick them back up and enjoy them all over again really inspired me to read them for the first time if I hadn't already. Christine from Turning Pages 52 is an Australian booktuber. And I know I just said Annie was one of the smiliest booktubers, but Christine is definitely competing for that trophy as well. And she hasn't uploaded in a little while, so hopefully this will encourage her to pick it back up. But in the meantime, there are videos in her archives to enjoy. I recently really enjoyed watching her day in the life of a tardy booktuber vlog, which was just a day of her being late and in a rush and chaotic, and it was hilarious. South America was really interesting because there are actually such big Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking booktube communities that it was rarer to find English-speaking booktubers from South America, but I do have a few recommendations for you. From Peru, I recommend Living World blog. So she does speak Spanish as her first language, but she has a few videos where she has interviewed English-speaking booktubers, and then she kind of switches back and forth and translates as she goes, which is really fun to watch. So for example, she did an interview with Adam Silveira, which I really recommend. Camilla is a Brazilian booktuber who had her own Portuguese channel, but then set up a new channel called Brazilian Ink, specifically to help her learn and practice speaking English. She's stopped using it now, but she still has some great book reviews up on the channel you can go and watch. For example, the video Let's Talk About Clarice, where she went really in depth into a particular Brazilian author, Clarice Lispector, and why she loves her and particular books that she recommends. Then Pastel Writer is a Puerto Rican booktuber who grew up in Puerto Rico but now lives in the US, so she makes her videos in English, and she is another booktuber who does lots of individual book reviews, so another one to subscribe to if those are the types of videos you're missing. She also makes lots of videos about Kindle Unlimited novellas, so those are really useful if you do subscribe to Kindle Unlimited and aren't sure where to start with that massive library. For a Costa Rican booktuber, there is Bookish Mel, and she does these book rants, which are really fun to watch. So in particular, a video I wanted to recommend was a video she made on bookish peer pressure, where she talked a bit about what that is, and then went through some of the books that she had bought because of this peer pressure, and she doesn't hold back. From Trinidad, shout out to Sajid from Books on My Social Life. He is someone else who has made a guest video on Book Break for us. He did a video on best Caribbean books, which I will link to, but also go and subscribe to his channel. He reads such a great range of books. He always ends up recommending me books that I hadn't heard of before, and he also posts these really interesting discussion videos, like one he did recently on being a person of colour on BookTube and what that's like, which are really important and interesting to engage with. For a Mexican booktuber, I recommend Juan from Just One Reader. He makes these Friday Reads videos where he talks in depth about all the books that he is reading at the moment or going to be reading over the weekend, and he is pretty compelling. I thought I'd been put off reading Wuthering Heights for life after having to read it at school, but his recent video on why you should read Wuthering Heights was extremely convincing. And I did just want to mention one other Mexican booktuber, Mariana Quesada. So she makes her videos in Spanish, but she subtitles them all in English herself as well. So for anyone else like me who shamefully never quite managed to master Spanish at school, we can still follow along. So a video of hers that made me laugh recently that was quite brutal was Books I Love with Ugly Covers, where she went through, as the title suggests, books that she really loved but was put off by the cover. So a good reminder to us all to not always judge books by their cover. And then where even to start in the US? There are so many hundreds of American booktubers, but I wanted to shout out Thor Wants Another Letter, who is an Indigenous booktuber. She runs a readathon centred around reading Indigenous literature, which is a perspective that I definitely want to include more of in my own reading and in my own booktube viewing. She recently made a video called I Asked My Elders for Recommendations and They Delivered, and that was one I particularly liked. And then finally, for a Canadian booktuber, I recommend Zoe's All Booked. She is so funny and so engaging. She recently had a baby and he makes cameos in her videos, which is always very sweet. She does things like these dramatic readings of book synopses, which are really popular. But the video of hers I'm particularly going to recommend was her bookshelf reorganisation video. I always love watching these. They are so hypnotic to watch, but hers was just extra brilliant. Firstly, because her collection is so amazing, so it was beautiful to watch, and also just her personality is so fun and engaging. Whew, so that was a pretty long list, but there are just so many more. So we would love to hear your recommendations. Do leave a comment below with your favourite international booktubers. And I will also link to our playlist here of all of the guest host booktubers who have starred on Book Break in the past. And let us know if there's anyone you particularly like to see on Book Break in the future. See you next time!